Good evening, council, staff, members of the public. May I have a mover and seconder to call the meeting to order, please? Councilors Alexander and Garwood, that the regular meeting of the Council of the Township of Springwater of October 2nd, 2024 come to order at 6:30 p.m. All those in favor? That has carried, and I will now turn to Councilor Garwood for our land acknowledgement.
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. The National Day of Truth and Reconciliation takes place each year on September the 30th and honors survivors and the children who were never returned home, their families and communities. The Township of Springwater acknowledges that the land in which we gather today is located on the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe Nation, which includes the Ojibwe, Ottawa, and Potawatomi nations, collectively known as the Three Fires Confederacy, Wendat, and the Haudenosaunee. The Township of Springwater is dedicated to honoring Indigenous history and culture and is committed to coming together to learn, heal, and create future prosperity, respect, and understanding in our community.
Thank you. Please rise if you're able to sing the national anthem. Oh, Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love in all of us command. With glowing hearts we see thee rise, the true north, strong and free. From far and wide, O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. God keep our land glorious and free. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. Councilor, are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest this evening? Councilor Moore.
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. I have passed the clerk my conflict of interest form for item 7.1, please.
Thank you. And before we do move on to question period, I just wanted to take a moment to welcome Deputy Clerk Reimer and Deputy Treasurer Garner to our team. This is their first meeting with us, so welcome to you both. And I will turn to Deputy Clerk Marshall to see if there have been any submissions for question period.
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. There have been no question period submissions for this evening's meeting.
Thank you. And are there any members of the public who wish to ask questions during question period? Not seeing any. May I have a mover and seconder for our minutes, please? Councillor Thompson, Councillor Alexander, that the minutes of council listed herein be approved as presented. 1, the minutes of the special meeting of council for September 11th, 2024. 2, the minutes of the special meeting of council for September 18th, 2024. 3, the minutes of the special meeting of council closed session on September 18th, 2024. And 4, minutes of the regular meeting of council for September 18th, 2024. Are there any questions or comments on these minutes? Not seeing any. All those in favor? And that has carried. In our correspondence items, we have a correspondence from our AMO and OMA Joint Health Right Campaign, and I will turn to Councillor Garwood for this. And sorry, just a seconder for the Councillor Fisher.
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. Whereas the state of healthcare in Ontario is in crisis, with 2.5 million Ontarians lacking access to a family doctor, emergency room closures across the province, patients being de-rostered, and 40% of family doctors considering retirement over the next 5 years. And whereas it is becoming increasingly challenging to attract and retain an adequate healthcare workforce throughout the healthcare sector across Ontario, and whereas Ontario municipal governments play an integral role in the healthcare system through responsibilities in public health, long-term care, and paramedicine, and whereas the percentage of family physicians practicing comprehensive family medicine has declined from 77% in 2008 to 65% in 2022. And whereas per capita healthcare spending in Ontario is the lowest of all provinces in Canada, and whereas a robust workforce developed through a provincial sector-wide health human services strategy would significantly improve access to health services across the province, And whereas these cracks in Ontario's healthcare system are impacting economic development, health, and well-being at the local level. And whereas in response, the Ontario Medical Association, OMA, and the Association of Municipalities of Ontario, AMO, are working collaboratively to advocate for a better healthcare system for Ontario residents and communities. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Springwater urge the Province of Ontario to recognize the physician shortage in Springwater and Ontario, to fund healthcare appropriately and ensure every Ontarian has access to physician care, and be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution be circulated to the Premier of Ontario, Honourable Doug Ford, Barrie Springwater Ormodante Member of Provincial Parliament, Honourable Doug Downey, the Minister of Health, Honourable Sylvia Jones, and the Ontario Medical Association, the Association of Municipalities of Ontario, and all Ontario municipalities.
Thank you, Councillor Garwood. Comment?
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. So this is a support resolution. While we were at, a few of us were at AMO back in August, we had the opportunity, I had the opportunity to connect with the Ontario Medical Association where they were providing documentation around a support resolution. Again, as noted in the resolution, to urge the province to continue to invest in healthcare. Obviously, we put our own spin in there and added in Springwater specifically. It looks like there are many municipalities across the province that are passing this through their council, and I hope ours does the same. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor, are there any comments or questions on the letter of support? Not seeing. Oh, Councillor Fisher?
Naturally, I want to support this, Councillor Garwood. I just go back, we've had several discussions about physicians in Springwater. It seems to me that the province has moved to family health teams because, it's not profitable and it's not cost effective for physicians to be solely standalone inside of the community. I worry with resolutions like this, and again, I want to support it, but I hope we're not giving false hope to people in our community when really it's been explained from the province that it likely won't happen in this fashion, that they'd stay with family health teams. So I hope we're not politically posturing here. Anyway, those are my comments on it.
Thank you. Councillor Garwood?
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. Through you to Councillor Fisher. Councillor Fisher, I appreciate the comments. Yes, this has been a big topic at this table, as it should be. When I look at this, I don't see this as false hope. I see this as responsibility, and whether or not we all agree on whose responsibility it is to bring healthcare to our community, I would like our community to continue to understand that this council is advocating on their behalf to bring healthcare closer to home. We've had many conversations here. We've been close to bringing physicians not only to the Elmville community, but to serve residents across this municipality. So I think the Ontario Medical Association has been an incredible resource. I personally have reached out to them countless times over the past year and a half or so. And it's nice to see AMO and other municipalities also taking the same approach. Understanding motions like this, by no means, are going to change the fact that we don't have a physician in certain communities in this municipality tomorrow, but it can't hurt. So we should be continuing our advocacy with the province, with our provincial partners. I believe that's part of our role in our communities every single day. Hearing those concerns from residents, whether it be from Midhurst to Elmville and everywhere in between. And this motion is another push and sign to the province to look at alternatives. During our delegation with the Ministry of Health at AMO, we had the opportunity to sit down with the Deputy Minister. And during that conversation, we spoke about family health teams. We spoke about the current structure and how there are communities like Elmville and Phelpston and Hillsdale. And again, I can continue through our various communities in Springwater who fall outside of a gap, who aren't close enough geographically to many of these teams that are in existence, but also can't attract multiple physicians and don't have the space within these communities to do so. We have the space. We have a council who has consistently supported physician recruitment, bringing a physician to our communities. Again, we have a building in Elmvale sitting there ready to go. And this council has done, in my mind, an incredible job in putting a plan forward that if and hopefully when a physician comes knocking, we are ready to go. So this motion to me, again, while some might call it posturing, I call it progress.
Counselor Thompson and then Counselor Fisher.
Thank you, Councillor Garwood. I had an opportunity to be part of both the delegations at AMO, the delegation to the Ministry of Health, and to the delegation to the meeting with the Ontario Medical Association. It was really interesting for me to see the differing point of views, and especially the Ontario Medical Association. I mean, they gave us some really good advice. This was some of the advice they gave us, is to let our voice be heard with the Ministry of Health. I'd be happy to approve this and to add our voice with other municipalities and let them know that we're here, that we need something to change, and that we're just not going to sit by on our hands and to give up. And so whether this is a gesture, whether they'll listen, whether it makes any difference, I know that if we do nothing, nothing will happen. So I'd be happy to support this motion.
Counselor Fisher.
So I'll start off by saying I will support it, Councillor Garwood. That being said, I have spoke to several people from Elmvale to Midhurst about this throughout this time that we've embarked upon physician recruitment. I don't know that we were that close last time around. And one thing I do worry, and I really want to caution us in how we communicate with the public. The province has gone forward with family health teams, and I just worry that people in the public think we're on the sort of precipice of having a doctor, and we're not. So as much as I do want to support this, and I do think sometimes we need to communicate this with the provincial government because it is an issue. I do want to caution all of us and the public that this is, the province has gone in a different direction. I even had a chance to speak to a doctor about this statistic. And one thing, it is a very true statistic. There is people practicing in communities that's on the decline. One of the reasons is it's just not profitable for them. And that's why the province has moved towards family health teams. Unfortunately, it does rob a lot of rural municipalities or rural areas from having a doctor. That is the direction they've moved in. So I will support this, but I do want to make it clear that it's doesn't mean we're going to have a doctor, next month. So I think we should be very clear with people in our community about that.
Anything? All those in favor? And that has carried. May I have a mover and seconder for our action reports, please? Counselor Thompson and Deputy Cabral, that action report items listed herein, 8.2 through 8.5 be received and that the recommendations contained therein be approved as presented. 8.2 is road naming of Midhurst Heights Street E. 8.3 Municipal Housing Infrastructure Program. 8.4 the reallocation of capital budget. 8.5 the award of RFQ 2024-55 RPF Elmvale Arena door replacement. At this time, council, are there any to be pulled for redirection? Deputy Cabral?
Just a comment with respect to one particular, well, this is not that one though, that comes later on, CO Schmidt, sorry, Mayor Coughlin, through you. I didn't have my agenda open. This here's for applying for the grant. Thank you.
Not seeing any to be pulled for redirection. Is there any comments on 8.2 through 8.5? Not seeing any. All those in favor? And that has carried. May I have a mover and seconder for our information reports, please? Councillors Alexander and Garwood, that reports listed herein be received for information. 1, bylaw service monthly report, and 2, update on the status of Craig Road extension project. Is So we have the two before us. It's the Bylaw Services Monthly Report and the update on the status of Craig Road. And for comment,
Yeah.
Counselor Fisher?
Just, I want to thank staff for bringing forward some update on Craig Road. I just want to take an opportunity to highlight, as I always do, the importance of Craig Road for the community. You know, it was outlined in the OMB that we need to have this in conjunction with the subdivisions that are coming in. You know, it's talked about land acquisition inside of the report. I just want to stress that we need to move ahead with this very quickly. I worry that we're looking at other projects and we're hearing from other developers just in the last few weeks, one on Doran Road. And I worry that we're neglecting our responsibility to the community. I highlight this all the time. Without finishing off Craig Road, Midhurst will be awash with traffic. It's 1,500 plus homes soon to be there. And without Craig Road there to act as I'll call it a pressure release valve for the traffic, you know, Midhurst is doomed, really. And I think a lot of the citizens are starting to wake up to this. So I think us as a council, we definitely need to push for this critical piece of infrastructure to be online. I also have to say too, you know, in discussions over the last few years being on council, you know, we will end up debt financing this before the DCs pay for it. And one thing I will say worries me and worries a few people in the community, those who pay attention, if we embark on other projects that start taking away that debt servicing, our ability to borrow, does it come at the expense of Craig Road? I don't know the answer to that, but it is starting to be a real worry in the community. People ask me constantly about Craig Road. Now, I can tell you a year ago they didn't. So I do thank you for the update, but I do feel that some of that land acquisition, it needs to be at the forefront of what we're doing. It needs to be acquired very quickly. In my opinion, we're behind schedule, right? I think that's a pretty educated, not even guess. So thank you for the report, but once again, I want to stress how important it is for all of us.
Anything further, council, on either the update or bylaw services? Not seeing any. All those in favor? And that has carried. We will now go to our verbal updates. And at this time, I will call on Manager of Development Services, Mr. Harvey, for our development update, please. So I'm just going to ask that you come up. Otherwise, the mic won't pick you up and then the clerk will have to hurt me.
Just a
Thank
couple of actually good news update for Midhurst. So with regards to Finley Mill, the contractors out there line painting this evening, and we're hoping to open Finley Mill from Waddy to Doran and from Doran to Gill by tomorrow. So barring anything in line painting, that hopefully will be open. And I know that's been a big issue for people thus far on Finley Mill. So that's a good news story. One other update is on the Gill Road area with Midhurst Heights. They're wanting to progress probably later this week to start installing on Gill Road their storm outfall. And that will require a 1-lane closure with traffic signals. So the public should know that Gill Road will be down to 1 lane in that section between the unopened Craig Road allowance and Midhurst Heights proper. Sweet Cicely is the one road that's there. So that's what I have to date. Hopefully that's received and good news, at least on Finley Mill. Sorry.
Councillor Fisher? Sorry. Oh, no, I was just gonna say your microphone, sorry.
I was just joking. I said, can we block Doran as well for the weekends? All right.
Councillor Moore?
Thank you, through you, Mayor Coughlin. Curious about the pipe that's being run down Snow Valley Road. That looks to me like it's getting very, very close to connecting into the service area. So just wondering, when will that be completed?
So right now they've actually skipped over a couple of areas. So they have not directionally drilled under Bayfield Street, for instance. So from now till November 15th, the county that's the cutoff date for the county to be on the county road. So they've decided to go to the westerly end right now and proceed to drill easterly. But to answer your question as to, that will not be completed till next year. So there will be gaps in there that are not complete. Okay, there's a section on Finley Mill. There's a section underneath Highway 26 at Bayfield Street. There's also the section that goes up to Gill Road to the subdivision. So all of those works are hopefully to be completed next year. Okay.
Thank you for that. And just as a follow-on to the road closure, the communication is being planned to be pushed
Correct.
up. Thank you.
Correct. So for instance, for tomorrow, the opening, all stakeholders, bus, link communications, there's been a blanket email go out to everybody and all the stakeholders so that they know what's happening. The same is happening on the Gill Road single lane closure. The same process that we used on the other ones is taking place.
Perfect. Thank you very much for that. Thank you. I will now turn to Deputy Cabral for our county update.
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. A few things that will be interest to our residents, and county's moving to a medical priority dispatch system, MPDS is what they call it. This is a globally recognized tool, and the system's scheduled to transition across all ambulance dispatch centers in Ontario by the end of 2027. And the MPDS is an industry standard for patient triaging and will optimize deployment of paramedic services, enhance response times, and it's expected to improve patient experience and outcomes. The system transitioned MPDS is scheduled to go live on November the 13th, 2024. The system digs deep for data in the background to prioritize calls for service based on data-driven algorithm that assesses calls on need and urgency. And the idea is that this is very hopeful that this will allow for superior dispatch of specific staff and resources where they're needed, and also reduce the number of lights and sirens calls that inherently present potential risk to staff, patient, and of course the motoring public. The system will also allow for the reprioritization of a call after it's been dispatched, something that they're not able to do right now. And for example, an ambulance may be rerouted from a possible broken arm, which is not a serious or urgent matter, to a heart attack call if it happens to be the closest one to that call. So they see that as a big bonus. The county has a plan to ensure public awareness of the system change prior to the transition that will include a public webpage, social media, media relations, and printed material. Another thing that came before council was the county bursary. The program received 294 eligible applications with 21 bursaries to be awarded. The bursaries include one to each of the 16 municipalities that participated in it, Springwater Township being one of them, and 5 fully funded by the county. Each participating municipality contributes $1,000 towards the $3,000 bursary, and in doing so guarantees an applicant from that municipality will receive a bursary. The county also provides an additional 5 bursaries to be awarded at large within the county. Georgian College is a partner to this program for the last few years, and works with the county and provides an additional $1,500 bursary to up to 5 bursary recipients who are enrolled at Georgian College based on their financial needs. In just a matter of points, Springwater had the highest number of applicants at 51. The final list of bursary recipients is set to be confirmed by the county council at its meeting on October the 22nd, with the successful applicants being notified thereafter. Some bad news for some folks anyway, taxpayers. County council did receive a report outlining high-level draft budget assumptions for 2025, and a significant portion of Springwater Township taxpayers' dollars actually go to the county. We may collect them, but we don't get to keep it all. A lot of it goes to the county for infrastructure, services, facilities, and programming. The report was for council's consideration and development of the 2025 draft budget. The key item most folks would be interested in hearing is what it means in taxation. The 2025 proposed draft budget suggests a tax levy increase to 2% to support asset management plan and 1.5 to 2.5 to support existing service levels and capital contributions. So in total, they're suggesting a 4% increase, which suggests that it's falling in the middle range. The report took into account historical trends in assessment growth at 2%, as well as general inflation rate of 2% based on the Bank of Canada target CPI approximate rate of 2%. But any way you look at it, property taxes appear to be going up. Simcoe County Museum, after the meeting, we went to the Simcoe County Museum. Many members of the county council moved from Chambers, including Mayor Coughlin and myself, to attend the Simcoe County Museum for the groundbreaking ceremony of the $16 million, 11,200 square foot expansion at the Simcoe Museum, which includes the Matthews Innovation and Transportation Gallery, named in honor of Mr. Charles Matthews, who bequeathed more than $5 million to the museum, and 2,300 square feet for curatorial work and storage. While the groundbreaking pushed the Simcoe Museum into the future, it was a remarkable piece of heavy equipment from the past that did the work. They had a 1922 Erie B steam shovel on hand that tore into the earth to do the ceremonial groundbreaking. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that it was our own Mayor Coughlin who climbed up on the Erie B steam shovel and blew the steam whistle to mark the occasion. So I don't know if you have any comments on that, Mayor Coughlin, but it was pretty cool.
No, I just simply asked if I could be the one to dig it, and they said, no, but you can pull the whistle. So that's where it was. But it was spectacular. And every time we're over there, we're so fortunate to have that, not only in the county, but right here in Springwater. It's pretty exciting. And I think that the intent of the redevelopment is to attract more. So there will be an opportunity for food and beverage there. So you could go skating and enjoy a meal, or just had to encourage more people to use and be at the ground. So it's really exciting. Nothing further. So at this time, I will turn to council for any municipal updates. Councillor Fisher.
Thank you. Just a few things that happened in the south end. Autumn Fest took place on the 28th. It was a great day. Thanks for a few councillors coming down. We had great weather, and it's a bit of an opportunity for some of us to start to recruit people for doing ice work this winter. So anyway, that was great. The other thing, and it was nice to see our mayor and a few councillors and some staff members at the Springwater Sports Heritage induction ceremony at Snow Valley. I think it was well attended. Food was great. It was actually, I thought it was a great event. I think, one thing that really stood out for me, some of the biographies that went with people, from all over the community. Actually, I was, really taken aback. Some of it a little bit emotional, frankly. Actually, I brought this. I'll mention one that really stood out to me, too, actually. Mr. Trevor Knight, he's in the Special Olympics. It was, to have somebody speak on his behalf and tell his story. I mean, it was something else. The other thing I thought was really cool, seeing some of the sports teams come, the Minisink fastball team, for example. These guys showing up, still friends, decades later, still wearing their leather jackets from their sporting days. I thought it was really, really cool, that camaraderie that it brought. And so I thought it was a great event, and it was great to see everyone there. So.
Thank you. I think it was people flying in from all over wherever they ended up. And apparently the jackets were from 1972, and there's 5 left in existence. And at the beginning, this was Springwater Sports Heritage. It's 10 years after conception. So it was our 5th banquet. And every year the board likes to put me in some sort of garb. And last time it was a Tyke Minisink, like really small shirt. And this time it was a giant jacket. So this was much more comfortable this year, but it was very well attended. And I would say that the sentiment in that, and I loved the story of the lady who started figure skating in Elmvale. And at that time it was 25 cents for a lesson. So it was quite interesting. Yeah.
Just to add to it, I mean, there's a number of people here, but just even building in the community, I'll name one name that I'm sure Dan McGinnis from Elmvale. I think these are people I live in the South End. I didn't know Dan McGinnis before, but to hear how he brought bowling lanes, and his story and how that he brought that into the community, I I drive past it all the time. I hear great things about it, right? You know, grab some water across the road, right, in Elmville. And but to hear his story about how he brought that to the community, and I'm leaving out a bunch of them because I'd be here for 3 hours like we were there the other night. But just really neat stories, and to have them come, and also other people from the community inducting them, telling their stories. So it's not them just wanting to be up there. It's people, people vouching for them, if you will, in the community. So I thought it was a really neat experience.
Municipal updates? You didn't have anything in Anton Mills over this past weekend? No update? I would like you to update us on it.
Mayor Coughlin was, and I and other members of council attended a fabulous artisan and food fair in Anton Mills on Saturday. It was lots of people, lots of money spent, and it was just, I would like to thank the Anton Mills Recreation Association again for a job well done. Exceptional job.
Councillor Garwood?
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. Echoing what Councillor Fisher said about the induction ceremony, it was incredible. As it was 2 years ago, I believe, as it is every year. I had the opportunity to sit at a table with the Menacing Ball folks, and we had an excellent time. It was incredible to hear the athletes, the builders, the teams, and especially the stories of those who made that nomination initially. So, Councillor Fisher, I wanted to congratulate the Sports Heritage Group for the work that they're doing. That event was top notch, and it was just a great evening. And congratulations to everyone that was inducted. It was a busy weekend in Springwater on Saturday. My family and I were out. We started the day in Anton Mills and then scooted over to Midhurst, and went to Autumn Fest and two great local community events. So congratulations to both CRAs that put that on. Up in Elmville, it's scary to say the word Christmas already. It feels like we're not even into October barely, but this year, the Elmville Christmas Night Market, it's a brand new event in the community. It's going to be happening November the 28th and 29th from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. It's going to happen inside of many of the local Queen Street businesses. There's going to be live music and vendors and food, all while supporting, obviously, shopping local and the Elmville Food Bank. It'll be a pretty neat experience. You'll pick up a passport. You'll have 2 nights, and if you make a stop at every one of those businesses, you're entered into a couple prizes. The event is supported and sponsored by the Elmville BIA. So we're definitely trying to push folks to shop local as they get ready for the holiday season. So that's a pretty exciting opportunity that has come forward. And of course, I have to mention one of our crown jewel events in the municipality is the Elmville Fall Fair, happening next weekend, October the 11th and 12th. The wonderful weekend, midway, parades, home craft baked goods, farm animals, the tractor pull. There's really something for everyone. The group and the committee and our volunteers have been working incredibly hard to ensure another successful fair. Knock on wood, I looked at the weather. It's looking positive. And if it goes the opposite way, then don't blame me. But anyway, something that's really exciting and positive to see is this year we've had an incredible outreach of volunteers, which that's what small communities are all about. And we are very, very grateful because that event does not happen without members of our entire municipality coming together to put it on. So thanks everyone for helping out with it. And we hope to see you at the fair October 11th and 12th.
Anything? Councillor Alexander?
I'm just gonna go off Councillor Garwood. Fall fair with a Go Rowdies.
I was literally just gonna say go Rowdies, but then I thought it's like the fair, they've actually had their initial float building meetings at school and they're getting it all together. So this week across Elmville will be secret float building in different locations, and it's quite exciting for the kids. So yes, go Rowdies. This time we will now move on to our notice of motion, and this is moved by Deputy Cabral, and a seconder for that, please. Councillor Fisher, and I will turn it back over to Deputy Cabral.
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. Notice of motion requesting an audit review of any contract awards exceeding $75,001. Whereas Section 224 of the Ontario Municipal Act 2001 states, among other things, that it is the role of council to represent the public, consider the well-being and interests of the municipality, develop and evaluate the policies and programs of the municipality, determine which services the municipality provides, ensure that administrative policies, practices, and procedures and controllership policies, practices, and procedures are in place to implement the decisions of council, ensure the accountability and transparency of the municipality's operations, including the activities of senior management, maintain the financial integrity of the municipality, and carry out the duties of the council under this or any other act. And whereas through its procurement policy, the council fulfills its role under Section 224 of the Municipal Act 2001 by establishing the policies set out within the bylaw. And whereas council approval is required for awarding any contract with a value greater than $75,001, and whereas any perceived deviations, irregularities, abnormalities, or non-adherence to the procurement bylaw and subsequent awarding of any contract would significantly impact public trust in the township's procurement policies and processes, and whereas council deems it responsible and prudent to openly and transparently review the integrity and compliance of the township's procurement bylaw in terms of checks, balances, and council oversight, be it therefore resolved that council directs the Director of Finance to undertake and complete an audit review of any contract awards exceeding $75,001 that occurred within the previous 18 months as of this date, and that the Director of Finance's report should identify each contract award by project number and include sufficient detail and timeline on each, as well as approvals as it progressed through staff and council, that the report should detail the tendering process. Sorry, I got to move up here. Tendering process, bidding process, the bidders, and to whom the contract was ultimately awarded, and that the Director of Finance's report be presented to council at its regular meeting on November the 6th, 2024. Sorry about the gap.
And back to you for a comment.
I think that the comment would be that it's council's role to provide oversight. It's council's role to ensure that accountability and transparency are not only appear to be undertaken, but that they actually are, and not only that they're perceived to be, but we can actually see that they are, and ensure that the accountability and transparency of the municipality, including the activities of senior management, and ultimately to maintain the financial integrity of the municipality. So when we look at what our role actually is, this is nothing more than a snapshot of one of our policies, one of our procedures, in particular the procurement bylaw, which ultimately we're spending millions of taxpayer dollars every year to look at it and make sure we don't have any gaps, we don't have any issues with it. And if we do, then we need to look into it a little bit further and find out why they're happening. So that's what this notice of motion is in respect of.
I'll turn to council for any comments or questions on this. Councilor Fisher?
I guess I'd just like to concur with the deputy mayor. I think it's absolutely our responsibility to take care of the checks and balances financially for the taxpayer. Myself, I regard that as maybe one of the paramount roles of what we do in terms of tenders and bidding processes. I absolutely believe that it should be above board and transparent with the public. So I would definitely support this.
Councilor Garwood?
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. Through you to CEO Schmidt, and feel free to redirect. Our procurement bylaw, and just to clarify maybe some information for the public as well, from what I understand, indicates that tenders are required to be approved by council in excess of $75,001. So if I read this motion correctly, It's speaking to the last 18 months, so year and a half. So within this term, so all of those items are coming to council anyway for approval. A report comes forward, we review it, council has an opportunity, staff writes the report. It's then discussed at this table and an opportunity to vote on it. So in theory, would this report not be a summary of everything that this council has already reviewed and read reports on?
CEO Schmidt?
Through you, Mayor Coughlin, to Councillor Garwood. Councillor Garwood, you're correct. The procurement bylaw, just to be clear, it's not just tenders, it's any procurement. So RFPs, tenders, as such, greater than $75,001. Council is the approval authority, and that was approved through the 2021 bylaw update. But to your point, yes, all reports of that nature would be coming before council for approval. And I would just say, in addition to that, you may recall that council also made a change recently whereby on a quarterly basis, staff are also to provide a summary report to members of council on such types of procurements. So I'll leave it at that.
Thank you. And I guess just for clarification then, to Deputy Cabral, so in addition to when the reports come to us and the quarterly review, the intent of this report back to council is to do more than that, or I'm just trying to follow along here.
Let me put it in the context of what the municipality does, and a lot of times they review what they're doing to make sure everything's in place, to make sure that staff are adhering to the rules and the policies. This council is supposed to have oversight of what goes on in this municipality. And when it comes to taxpayer dollars, I think this council has an obligation to that oversight. And to simply say that, what we see is going to be prima facie as to what is actually transpiring and what's going on, I think what we need to do is review that to make sure that that's exactly what's happening. And if there are any irregularities, if there are any disparities, if there's things that maybe have occurred, because in the policy, the procurement policy itself, it says that if there's any irregularities, they should be brought to the attention of council. So the focus of this is to make sure that our procurement bylaw is being adhered to. I don't see any exceptions in there for anything at all. If it's $75,001, it's supposed to come before council. So I'm asking for a review for the last 18 months. And I think it's our responsibility to do this on occasion, not maybe just for this particular policy. This is the big one. I think we're talking millions of dollars, tax dollars that go out to tender, that are used to supply materials, that are used to pay for services that we acquire. And this council is only really aware most of the time about the tendering process and the awards of those contracts in $75,001 and above. Maybe at a later date, we should maybe have a look at the other procurement policies to make sure that we're getting the absolute best value for our dollar through our procurement process. Are we going out and sourcing from different suppliers, or are we always going to the same supplier because it's just convenient and easy? So I think this motion literally speaks for itself. It's not only something that council is responsible for. I think we have a responsibility, like any other organization, to review our policies from time to time. So that's what this is about.
And the only other comment I have is on the timing of this. If this is a policy review, understanding that our finance department right now is embarking on our budget, which is quite the undertaking. So you have it coming back for November. I'm curious as to if this would be able to be done after budget to allow our finance department to focus on budget. And then once that's finished, they can focus on the procurement policy.
Mayor Coughlin, I would like to leave it the way it is. And if the finance department finds that they're running into some difficulty, I'm happy to suggest that they come back before council and indicate that, and we'll give them an extension of time. In my mind, if these tenders have gone out, they've either already come before council, there's been a motion to award a tender, and then been an award made, or there's been an RFP that council has been involved in. You know, we're looking at the last 18 months. I would suggest that in my mind, I don't see this as particularly onerous, because the information should flow quite easily. This is what we wanted. Here's the RFP. Here's the project number. Here's the cost center number. Here's when council approved it to go out. Here's when it came back. Here's when council approved it to be awarded. I would, through you, go to our director of finance and, you know, given what you see here, do you think you would require additional time? Because I would suspect that the budget that's coming before this council in November is pretty near getting ready to be presented.
Director Bedard.
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. The nature of this, I'll say, compliance audit of our procurement policy, you know, in my estimation, it may take upwards of a week to complete. You know, when you mentioned there's checks and balances to review, that would be, you know, myself going through each procurement over $75,001 and making sure that through each step of the way, the procurement policy was followed. And then it would be reporting out to council the findings of that. It would take time away from our budget proceedings right now, where we're not at the point of that you mentioned in terms of being ready to present. We're well underway, but we're not as far along as you indicated.
Follow on?
Yeah, thank you. Through Mayor Coughlin, once again to you, Director of Finance, Bedard. Would it be reasonable then to suggest that this might be something that could be brought before council at the first regular council meeting in December, since we'll already be into budget at that stage of the game and be deliberating budget? So really, that would be out of the way at that point in time. Would that give you sufficient time to produce this report?
Director Bedard.
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin, and through you to the Deputy Mayor. An extension through to December would be greatly appreciated at the minimum.
Mayor Coughlin.
Thank you. Councillor Thompson.
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. So I too am concerned about the timing of this, and thank you, Deputy Mayor, for giving the extension. I think I would like to see staff focused on our budget and not be distracted as I know that it's a big job. To me, also, this motion suggests that members of the council really aren't doing their job, because I found these reports very informative. We approved one tonight without any discussion. I've had the report for a week. I've had lots of time to review it and to read it, to call staff and ask any questions or to express any concerns. And I would like to thank Manager Dean for this report. It's in great detail. If you remember, it was the RFQ for the replacement of the doors in the Elmville Arena. And in the report, it says that it was open to the public. Anybody could bid on this. There was 13 companies that took the plans. We received 5 bids. Of the 5 bids, it says right in the reports that 3 of the 5 didn't meet the technical requirements of the and didn't get elevated to stage 2 financials. And then it shows of the 2 remaining, which one they awarded it to, and it was awarded to the lowest bid. And it's not a small amount. It's like $102,000. And there's lots of information here. If I had any concerns about it, I would have asked the questions of staff. And as they are always, they're very forthcoming. So to me, this report suggests that we're not doing our job in reading these. For the last 18 months, every one of these bids or RFQs that you're referring to have been embedded in these council meetings. And any of the reports that I've read have been very thorough. And any of the questions that I've asked staff, they were very forthcoming with information. So thank you.
Thank you. I have Counselor Alexander, Deputy Cabral, and Counselor Fisher.
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. So I'm looking at this differently than Counselor Thompson. To me, this is an internal audit that companies do all the time. It's our responsibility to ensure there's full transparency to the taxpayer. We sit up here, as you mentioned, every probably 2 weeks. We see these, we approve them. Sometimes the members of the public aren't paying attention every week. Sometimes they want a snapshot view to ensure their dollars are being spent appropriately and wisely. And to me, this is simply an internal audit that allows us that full transparency to the members of the public. Again, all the information is there. There certainly is a time commitment that, we'll have to go through, but companies do this all the time, and I do feel this is our responsibility.
Deputy Cabral.
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. I'm not one that just simply believes in blind faith. You're right. I read that report about the arena, and I did have a couple of questions. I didn't just I didn't voice them here because they'd already been answered. However, I can also tell you that there's been times in the past when I have had questions about certain contracts that have been awarded prior to you sitting at this table. So I have a little bit more background to draw from. So I would suggest that when there are questions to be asked about a particular report, you're absolutely 100% right. But I can also tell you that when I don't ask a question, I've either already got my answers or I don't have a problem with that particular report. But I do read them. I would think that everybody on council reads them. But blind faith's not something I have. Some folks had blind faith in the Titanic. It was unsinkable. We know how that turned out. This is simply an audit, simply a review, and it's looking at what's going on in our organization that we might not necessarily see in the report when it comes before us. So I'm happy to change the date to the 6th, but I'd still like the motion to go forward, and I'd call the vote after Councillor Fisher speaks.
And thank you. And in accordance with our procedural bylaw, every member of council does have an opportunity. Councillor Garwood also has his hand up, and Councillor Moore has yet to have commented as well. Councillor Fisher.
Excellent. Just want to agree with some of the other councillors. We are a board of directors, and it is our responsibility. A compliance audit or an internal audit in the private sector they're constant. So I don't see it any different for us sitting up here. We do have to treat it like it's a business, and I agree. Blind faith, I don't have it. The amount of times I have had faith in accounting staff, things not necessarily here, but and we found issues. So this is the type of thing that we do have to do to be accountable to the taxpayer, but also be a healthy organization. I also I'll say this. For myself, questions have been raised as of late about procurement, and I would like to see this audit happen. I think it's our duty to do so. So, thank you.
Councillor Garwood.
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. I just opened up our September 4th meeting agenda, and speaking of a snapshot, which I agree, information, apologies, should be transparent, accessible, and easy to read. Item 10.1.4 is, 10.1.8 is a Q2 procurement summary. 10.1.9 is a corporate credit card report. 10.1.12 is the check register from multiple months. So I see that those are avenues that this council has put in place, and I'm glad we have. That is transparency. That is accessible to anyone that wishes to access that information in a singular space, and it is there on a public agenda, accessible to anybody. Of course, transparency is important. That's, I think, what all 7 of us and our staff strive to do every single day in the jobs that we have. But there's also a difference between blind faith and trust. Trust is a foundation. We have a professional working relationship with municipal staff, our senior staff, and vice versa. This is a 4-year commitment that we have to work in collaboration. Just as we are responsible to the community, staff are also responsible to the community. And I think our staff do an excellent job. I've never seen or witnessed anything that wasn't transparent in nature from our senior staff. Trust is a foundation, but we are not blindly putting our faith in anybody. We have information. It is accessible. It exists today. And I said here, talk about it all the time, data-driven decisions. I believe in gathering data and presenting it to the public 100%. But to put a artificial timeline of a month, and Deputy Mayor Cabral, I'm glad that you've extended that another month during our finance department's arguably busiest time of the year, our arguably busiest time of the year as well, to me is a concern. I believe that there is a potential undertone of distrust, and I don't see it that way. I believe our staff are doing their job responsibly. I believe this council does their job responsibly, and I don't see any concern.
The vote has been called and Councillor Moore has not had an opportunity to speak. So at this time, council, the motion has been read and we won't make you read it all over again. So council, all those in favor? And that has carried. Are there any additional notices of motion this evening? Not seeing any items for future consideration? May I have a mover and seconder, please, for the bylaws? Councillors Garwood and Alexander, that bylaws listed herein be signed and sealed by the mayor and clerk, the appointment of our deputy treasurer, and appointment of our interim deputy clerk. Any questions on these? And welcome again. All those in favor? Officially welcomed. And our confirmation bylaw, please. Mover and seconder, Councillor Moore and Councillor Fisher, that bylaw 2024-081 to confirm and adopt the proceedings of council at the regular meeting held on October 2nd, 2024, listed here and be signed and sealed by the mayor and clerk. All those in favor? And that has carried. And a mover and seconder to adjourn the meeting, please. I have Councillors Alexander and Deputy Cabral, that the regular meeting of the Township of Springwater does now adjourn at 7:26 p.m. to meet again on regular session on October 16th, 2024 at 6:30 p.m. All those in favor? And that has carried.